Welcome back to another episode of The Banker, the Broker, and the Canadian. We have a great episode prepared for you today. Thoughts around how to maximize and enjoy your summer. We are on the cusp of kids getting out of school, graduations happening, and finding camp. How can we find someone to occupy these kids? And for those that aren't homeschooling and have these, you know, just who can watch them, right? And so we have a few thoughts around that. But then also, how do we prioritize our summer and make sure that it's meaningful, that we spend time with the people that we care about, and that we accomplish the things that we want, especially the fun. So, Jim, I know that this was a topic that you brought up. We also have Reedy with us as well. But, Jim, um, what are some of your thoughts around how to take advantage or maximize your time during the summer?
Well, that's a great question, I think, and one that I think is appropriate for this time of the year. And I think the number one share I have is this: think about the summer instead of let the summer think about us. And in that, maybe I should challenge all of us to write down 10 things and kind of visualize what the summer of 2024 is going to look like for us. What would be the best version of that? How are we going to bring in like the best part of our mindset to shift to more of the summertime where there's warmer weather or it's too hot, uh, or the kids, if you have kids, are going to be not going to school on the regular school year schedules, or I'm going to take a family vacation, but also, maybe you also need a solo vacation. And just frame up the next June, July, and August in your mind, and then maybe put down some wish lists on what makes you happy so that you can start what we talked about last time, this mindset of the happiness advantage. And so that would be my share to launching a fabulous, fun, fantastic, summer of 2024.
That's a great first share, Jim, and I think it's valid that we have two different ways that we can approach it, right? If we were to think of summer as a bit of an extended vacation, because very different than our normal school year, we don't have the restrictions and the confines of the school day and the school curriculum to dictate where our children need to be and where we need to be to pick them up and bring them places and do things. So, do you approach your vacation from a way from through a lens that says, I'm going to allow whatever happens, to me or, comes at me. I'm going to let it happen in a bit of a passive way. Or am I going to be more proactive about it and attempt to have some control or intentionality about how I spend my time? And I think if I can share personally, and Reedy, I want to jump to you next. I think it's a bit of both, right? So I don't think it has to be entirely lined out day by day, moment by moment. But I also don't think you want to be flying by the seat of your pants either, right? It's some bit of combination. I think it's a fine tuned balance of I want to set some bit of intention on what we want to accomplish, how we want to spend our time, who we want to see, where we want to go. But then I don't want to be so rigid about that if those plans get disturbed, that I'm pissed off, I'm bitter, I'm angry at the world, right? I don't want that scenario either. And so I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Reedy, you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, so here in Canada, in Vancouver specifically, well, Vancouver, we have 3 seasons or 4 seasons, I say. It's summer, rain, rain, and rain. So it's very important, especially here in Vancouver, to maximize our summer. We have a small window, which is literally just June until the end of August, maybe beginning of September, to really maximize. So we need to be intentional with that window, especially since if you don't plan it, I mean, we've all experienced this. The end of summer comes and like, what have we done this summer? Right. And you don't want to get to that point again, especially here in Vancouver, because you go to the next three season rain, rain, and rain. So there's this book that, and I'll throw. It seems like I've been throwing books every time we talk.
It's okay.
There's this book,
Hey, Reedy,
Die.
Reedy, let me remind you, Reedy,
Yeah,
we
what is that?
love books.
Yeah, there we go.
We love books. We've got
This is
books
why
that
we get
and
along.
this is just half the stack.
Yeah, there we go. So there's a book called Die with Zero by, I think his name is Bill Perkins. And the message that I love and I use as my motto is the business of life is the acquisition of memories. And
That's cool.
I try to remind myself of that, and essentially just trying to create more memories and
I
think of
like
that as
that.
a as you know, your purpose in life, if you were a business, right, is to create that. So going back to what you were saying on trying not to be rigid, I wholeheartedly 100% agree that, you know, you don't want to get all up in a fuss and get in a knot if you don't stick to those plan. At the same time, you should intentionally plan out the things you want to do this summer. And there's three themes that I have. One is connection, relaxation, and experience. So whatever events that I plan in my summer is revolving around those three themes. So if you can look at the back of my calendar, we have a couple of camping trips. Camping actually, for me, it hits all of those three aspect, which is connecting with my kids, my family, time to relax, and we build a lot of great memories when we go camping. But there's other things that we do. Like one of them is going on a road trip down the Oregon coast, right? So just I love car trips. I don't know about you guys. Some of my fondest memory is just literally in the car driving and just the kids in the back making silly jokes, laughing away, and yeah, that's, you know, when I think about happy moments, happy times, it's those car trips. But yeah, I I think planning it out helps so that you don't look back when summer's over and think, "Holy crap, summer's over and we didn't do anything." Right? So, that's my
That
advice
is
and
key.
that's what we're doing.
Sure. So I can I appreciate a good plan, and I like, I like to know that a plan exists, but I can't be responsible for it. Okay, I can't be the one that sets it out because the journey that I've been on, and I know I've shared some bit with y'all, right? So it was wild, just wildly, I would say wildly distracted. It was this crazy paradox where I was growing up, right? So I was super invested in the moment in that I had more energy than you could possibly imagine to where I was bouncing off the walls, and I was fully invested in whatever I was doing, typically playing a sport of some sort, all out, right? Super aggressive. Or I was looking forward to the next thing, right? Like I was looking forward to the next thing in a way to where um, I always wanted, it was always with anticipation or with expectation that something new or exciting was going to happen in the future. But I never really planned for it or set any intention for it. And so to combat that in a sense in my adult life, I have reined in some of that sporadic ADD or ADHD only slightly. It still exists a good bit, um, but I've reined it in some to focus almost entirely on this moment with recognition that right now, as we sit, there's nothing wrong, right? There's no one trying to attack you. There's no one hurting you. There's no local or perceived pain that you're experiencing, right? Nothing's ailing you or hurting you. Well, in Jim's case, depending on how far past back surgery recovery he is, or Reedy, if you've tweaked something during your workout or whatever. But for the most part, recognition that this moment is enough, right? And so when you become so steeped in that, then in my experience, it's actually almost kind of worked in a negative way for the plan from a planning aspect. Does that make sense? Like I struggle to look forward into the future, and I struggle to plan things out because maybe I'm lying to myself. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts as you hear me say that?
Well, they always say stay in the present, right? And enjoy the present. So I think just like with anything, you can't. It's not one or the other, right? You don't need to think about, okay, is it wrong to feel good and enjoy the present? Should I be planning? It's not. It's both. In my opinion, and it's actually it's more so both in summer, because when you are doing that event or experiencing whatever you're doing, whether it's just even sitting in your backyard and enjoying the birds chirp, in if you're near a forest or whatever, and enjoying that moment, that is enjoying summer, because the weather is, again, especially here in Vancouver, because the weather is so nice in summer, you can just enjoy that moment. You don't have to go anywhere or do anything. And that is actually, you make a good point. And my wife, sometimes myself, tend to do this because the weather is so nice and we get little of it here in the Pacific Northwest. We feel like we need to go somewhere or do something every time the weather is nice.
Yeah.
However, I always say, why can't we just stay home and just enjoy, our area
Hmm.
instead of going somewhere? Enjoy the present, enjoy being at home, right?
Hmm.
I've actually heard that. I've heard people say that good climate and good weather can actually be a subtractor or a negative thing for your career because because it's so enjoyable and because it's so great to be outside that you don't necessarily have this drive or this ambition to go do anything else because you're so satisfied with the sunlight that's right there with you.
Hmm. And I think, Jason, to pull your point in a little bit more on just sitting and enjoying this moment where the three of us are sitting right now, or different moments throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month, throughout the summer, that Jason's point is so important in our lives, is that I think sometimes for many of us, we're regulated in the next goal and checking that off the list and marching that way. Excuse me, that much of what Jason is suggesting that we don't do at all or very little. It's actually quite difficult for me to sit in the moment, and it doesn't have to be an activity like I'm going to go on you know a vacation with my family and we're going to see three national parks. That's fine, but also there's the moment of just sitting on the patio with your wife or your partner, uh, after a nice simple barbecue, of just the tightest family part,
Hmm.
and enjoying that moment of the sun going down. Fortunately for Reedy and I, in the Pacific Northwest and in Vancouver, Canada, the sun kind of doesn't go down until like after 9 o'clock at night. So we got some gifts.
That
So,
is that is quite the gift.
but I just love that time. Excuse me, I'm going over a little bit of a cold here, but I just love that time of what Jason is saying is like, you know, just sit in the moment and realize that and not be so worked up in your mind that you're looking at the next thing, even if it's like sitting in the moment after a meal. Just enjoy that, those 3 minutes, instead of thinking, oh god, I got to wash the dishes and like I got to get it all cleaned up, and like
Right.
the kids are going to do this tomorrow when the dog's going to the vet, and like so many times our mind wanders to things of that nature rather than just being able to sit in the moment and listen to what the other person is saying to you. You know,
Sure.
I think sometimes,
Now
especially, go ahead.
let's be clear. I'm not suggesting we sit cross-legged and meditate all day, right? I'm not suggesting a sedentary lifestyle where we retreat from the world in such a way that we don't experience the world, right? First of
Right.
all, that's not possible, right? Bills have to get paid, kids have to be fed, things have to happen. The world is going to progress in a way that is outside of our control. But at the same time, my suggestion or my thought for anyone who's listening is that chances are the anxiety that you live with, the stress and frustration that you live with, is largely an indication of how much time and attention you give to outside of this moment, right? How much time do you offer up your attention to the past and offer up your attention to the future? And so I think those planning sessions are wonderful. It's great. Plan out the whole summer, but don't take all day to do it, or don't perpetually spend time. Oh, I can't wait till the trip I'm going on in July. I can't wait till the trip I'm going on in July. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. And when you build that theme in your mind of I can't wait for some future point, then you're missing out on the beauty of right now. And then when you get to that trip in July, I can't wait to get back home. I can't wait to get back home, right? No, no, no. Let's remove the idea of not being able to wait for the next thing and rest in the idea that there's nothing wrong right now.
Another thing that I'm doing that might be beneficial to the listeners this summer is that I decided to pick a theme for the summer. And my theme is I really enjoy the beach and the beach vibe and the beach music and everything about it. And so this summer, I'm going to wake up every day and act like I'm at the beach, And so that may be different things for different people, but like I pull out my board shorts. I kind of
Wear your
decide whether
Hawaiian
like I
shirt,
even want to wear a
Jim.
shirt in the morning or not. I find my flip flops. I make, beach coffee, uh, you know, everything like I want to just revolve around. And you can pick anything that you like. If you like the mountains, hiking and camping, then wake up every morning and like act like you're gonna go camping and just have that overarching theme of you know summer fun and how am I gonna live and love it. And I think that in that way our mindset, if you have some overarching theme, then it helps what Jason is talking about in creating those moments. And I'm sure Jason has moments when he's you know streaking, running, walking, whatever he does at some weird ass off hour in the morning, right? you know I'm sure he has those moments where he's like running his little tail down the street, when the garbage people are just waking up and pulling the cans out. you know so I moments can be not only just sitting, but also can be actually doing active things as well. But the overall thing this summer for me is I'm going to act like I'm at the beach every morning. you
Sure.
know Eh,
And
and
that's a
what that
beautiful point,
entails.
Jim. That's a beautiful point, and I agree with it that if appropriately done, right? If we do it well, then we carry with us that presence that that moment into every new moment, right? So the peace that you abide with, the peace that you rest with, can be carried into even what might look like aggressive activity, right? The idea of running, or the idea of playing a sport, or the idea of, being in conversation, or being, locked in the eyes of someone you love, and having a deep discussion. You can bring, or parenting your child, or coaching a team, or anything that you quote unquote have to do, can be done with such a presence, can be done with such an abiding peace that it all becomes enjoyable. That's an available state of mind that most people don't acknowledge that they can step into.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a
I woke
question
up
for you
this morning.
guys.
The first thing I said to my wife was, usually I say happy and whatever day it is. Today's Wednesday, right? Instead, I said aloha. And she looked at me like, I said, happy Wednesday, you know, and, but we're going to start off the whole summer now, like in the, like, you know, I'm at the beach mode, right? And so, I can pull that theme. And if that makes me happy and creates happiness within myself and relates to other people, you know, I think the world deserves more of that positive energy and being able to, because actually it's like what Sean Anker was saying in his book, The Happiness Advantage. That'll be your happiness advantage for the summer if you allow it and you
That's
invite it
right.
into your life and you speak out those words. So,
I have a
and
very
maybe Reedy
positive
is,
association. I have a very personal, and I'm sure you all might too, but positive association with the story of Peter Pan, right? The idea of never growing up, the idea. But what did it require for you to fly, right? What does it require? You have to maintain happy thoughts, right? And so the idea
yeah,
is that you need to dwell on those beautiful things, dwell on those enjoyable things, and that's the requirement. Reedy, you had a question
absolutely.
or you had a thought that you wanted to share. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys actually because I'm thinking about it as we plan our summer. But if you had to look back at the end of summer, how would you answer this question? What was the best moment of this summer? Because I think if we reverse engineer and start plan and think about what would make it the best moment of the summer, maybe there's something that you always been wanting to try out, or a place that you've been wanting to go, or a new activity you wanted to take on, right? So my question to you guys, if you had to think now, looking back at the end of summer, what would you think would be the best moment of that summer or this
I'm going
summer?
to give you, I can give you an answer that you may or may not expect, but so I have an idea of some of the things that have already been planned for my summer, right? So I'm bringing my oldest daughter to camp, and it's going to be her and I driving for 8 hours together in a car. So I'm open minded enough, and so I'll explain to you all of how I thought about the question you just asked, which I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
prepared for, by the way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I live in an open minded type of way that allows for those moments that you're describing, Reedy, to happen at any moment. So it might be on that drive where we together, just the two of us in the car for that 8 hour trip, or it might be a random afternoon where I'm bumping the volleyball with her here at the house, or where I'm helping my youngest daughter do a dance routine, which happens on a daily basis. Or it might be one of the moments where I'm sitting in Maho Bay in the U.S. Virgin Islands of St. John with my wife, the trip that we have scheduled for 4th of July, where I have nowhere to go. I have no one to impress. I might be, I don't know, I might have clothes on, I might not, who knows what's going on, but it might be one of those moments. So, my answer to your question is I'm ready and prepared for those significant moments to happen at any moment, but I have an idea that it could happen in any one of those trips that we have.
How about you, Jim?
Um, I kind of got lost in what Jason was saying. So I think along those same lines, like I think it's probably um, the intimate moments with my wife. You know, those kind of maybe private times that we don't like talk about openly, but we share intimately. Um, I think that those type of things that we both create during the summertime. Yeah, for example, one that I can share is that she decided that instead of Friday night at the end of the week, we would have, you know, whole day date and date night as well as included in that, that we would change it to Monday night. Monday night here is not as busy. People are just, they don't go out to eat a lot as much on Monday night. So we just switched it up. So now Monday night, I look forward to Mondays like a super whole lot, right?
I love it.
So,
That's cool.
some of those type of things, I think that you can, look forward to, and as we look back, it's those little moments that, are very loving and just happen naturally, but with some intention.
Sure.
My wife intentionally came to me and said, "Let's go out to dinner, you know, and let's spend some time without other couples and other people around us, and let's change it from Friday night to Monday night." I'm like, yeah, let's go. So
That's beautiful. And there we have it, folks. There's the goal you can aspire to, is the be able to just on a whim change your date night to another night. It doesn't matter because the financial component doesn't matter. The freedom component of having restrictions of needing to be somewhere else doesn't matter. You blissfully enjoy those beautiful relationships in your life.
yeah, and for me, then I light up like a firecracker. I'm all over it. Like I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So on the real estate end, some people look at the banker, the broker, and the Canadian. You know, you may take a peek at where you're living now, uh, in your primary residence, and maybe go to a couple of open houses. And even though you may have an emotional attachment to your primary residence, financially also look at like every 2 years, if you're in the States, you can take advantage of, avoiding some capital gains. If you're married, filing jointly, 500,000, single 250,000. So, you may have some emotional connection to your house, but if you look at maybe, even considering looking at moving to another place that would be advantageous to you financially, then there may be even supersizing that emotional attachment at the next place. And I know I do the opposite extreme. One year we moved 3 times in a physical year. I don't recommend that either. But at the same time, always look at, you know, some things that may be opportunities. And summer's a great time to like go into that open house or look at what your neighbor is selling it for and what the market is on your primary residences. We don't just ignore our finances, and I think for most people, we look at our balance or our checking accounts once in a while, right? And so look at your primary residence as, a part of that financial portfolio from a residential. And this is just like a little bit of coaching, at least this summer, take a peek into maybe like what it would be like living in a neighborhood down the street, or maybe, look at financially that pocketbook of the equity and things in your house after you've lived there for more than 2 years.
That's great, Jim. Thank you for offering that. And I think one of the points that I would like to draw out of that is that what you mentioned, you have to be open-minded enough to imagine what that change could look like. And oftentimes, and I think that this is a relatable point in many areas of our life, not just moving our primary residence, but developing a new skill, being willing to step out in a courageous way into a new business venture, or striking out in reaching out to someone who you've wanted to cultivate a relationship with, or any type of significant change that we make in our life. Oftentimes the sentiment we have when we look back is, if I would have known it was this enjoyable, I would have done it sooner.
Yes.
That's so true.
And with that, we'll wrap. So hopefully you have those thoughts around how you're going to spend your summer. Be open minded to allow each and every moment to be the moment that you look back on and say that was the best moment. But also, too, don't pigeonhole yourself and think that, oh, my best moment has to happen on my trip to the Tetons, or my trip it has to happen on my trip to the island. No, no, no. It might be a random Tuesday with your spouse in that special place that y'all, just between the two of you, and no one else might know about it. And you might, for whatever reason, from a connection standpoint, from a love standpoint, from a security standpoint, from whatever standpoint you see it through, that becomes the moment that you remember. So we'll wrap there. Love y'all. Thank you. If you've made it to this point, we'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube, and we'll also be posted on Spotify. Check out the Banker, the Broker, and the Canadian. Peace out. Y'all out, guys. There we go. Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.